to bring to light a couple of things here concerning this topic. The college football playoff format that has been extended now in terms of the television contract from 2026 through 31, so those 6 seasons, tells us that the Big Ten and the SEC will be receiving $21 million per school per season. The ACC at $13 million. Okay, on the surface, without extrapolating, sounds like, okay, well, that's a big disparity, but they're huge schools, 21 million, 13 million, big deal. 18 teams in the Big Ten, 18 schools receiving $8 more million. That's, I did the math here, 114 million, 144 million more. So every college football postseason, this is in addition to receiving so much more from Fox and CBS and NBC in the regular season. Just in the postseason, the Big Ten, for example, will receive $144 million per year, more than the ACC. And then on top of that, it's, of course, the 6-year contract, $864 million gap between those two conferences if it plays out to the end.
I mean, that's just short of $1 billion with a B, like boy. Like, that's not chump change. So like, yeah, on a a micro level, you think, oh yeah, like it's only 8 million or 13 million, like here and there. But just like Mark detailed, it's actually not. I mean, like if that's if it hits the ceiling, like it could be anything less than that, but like you're still talking about north of $500 million. Like that's $500 million, guys. Interesting. I clicked over to the comments, the live chat, just to see, the conversation and everything. Shout out to Rock and Ranch for your super chat, and not only for the contribution, but also for the content. The biggest thing from the ACC conference countersuit today is claiming that Clemson was negotiating with the ACC confidentially on a business solution until Clemson filed suit. So yeah, that's very interesting because if you're negotiating a settlement or like a solution, like, oh hey, so I have to know all of the parts of the contract of where we are to create a solution. And it's just like, cool, yeah, no, that actually was the discovery that we needed, because I needed to have that clause right there, and then we can actually sue you guys. And it's also interesting, I meant to bring this up earlier at the top, the beginning of this conversation. The ACC was has been intentional, and institutions will always try to propagate themselves at the expense of the individual, whether that's the individual institution that are members or like the individual people, because like it happens, right? But playing defense for so long, and it's been reported, like this is confirmed as true, that the only copy of the grant of rights exists in the ACC offices in Charlotte. Like people have, like, from each school or whatever, like you have to go to the office and check it out, and like go to they only like let it in to the conference room. They'll bring it in to you, be like, cool, yeah, do what you need to do. Nothing leaves this room. Like, nope, there's no copies or anything. Like, that's it. So I just find it interesting because they're like, yeah, it's a thing that everybody is connected to, like all the schools are connected to because they've all signed it and everything. So like, why would we not have a copy of this contract that's like governing how so many things are handled in terms of our finances? Like, no, we have the one copy for everybody, and you have to come to our house in our living room at our dining room or at our dining room table to go view it. So I just find that as a interesting side note, because like it might not be true, but you would be hard pressed to convince me that they didn't know, like the ACC conference didn't know that they had kind of gotten over. And they're like, yeah, so we're only going to have one copy. It's only going to live here, because like if you have one on site at Virginia, Miami, wherever, you're just like, you know what? Just go through that with a fine tooth comb, every single line. I'll allocate a couple staff, and that's all you're going to do until you find something, right? It'd be easier to do that when you're able to, have, grantor rights Tuesdays. Like everybody's going to come in and like, we're going to go through a new 100-page section today. Yeah. As opposed to like having to pack up your legal department and send them to the place to go through it. But yeah, an interesting footnote and an interesting addition, Rock and Rant. I really appreciate that context, because I didn't. I had meetings all day. I just got off of work right before I came on here, but I say that to say that I didn't even know that the ACC had countersued, let alone the point of conversation in that countersuit. So really valuable addition to the conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rocket Rant. Let's run through the super chat contributions, and we actually have a special comment coming in that I will read that Cam will enjoy as well. But let me make this one quick point in all this. Maybe this gets missed by a lot of people, and I got to think that this is a component in how this relationship went sour. ESPN launched the SEC network in 2014. And they worked extremely hard on it. They went full force on this to the point where the launch of the SEC network went to just about 1 million less homes than ESPN itself. They brought the SEC subscribership out of the gate to as many homes as ESPN2 and just under ESPN, like 90 some million homes right out of the gate. And they also poured a lot of production and big time talent into that network. And you can see the obvious difference between the ACC network and the SEC network. When you flip on the SEC network, the documentaries, the studio shows, all of it, you might as well be watching ESPN for the most part.
Yeah.
You watch the ACC network, it's good, but it's not quite as good. And it was launched 4 or 5 years later. And I don't know if this was ESPN being full of itself and thinking, hey, we just did this 4 years ago. This is easy. And this is just going to happen for us, and didn't hustle as much. Or maybe it was the ACC not pushing ESPN to do it first rate, like the SEC may have pushed ESPN to say, hey, if we're going in partnership with you, it's got to be first rate. And when the ACC network launched, it had a small fraction of the subscriber base, and wasn't done as well. Didn't make as much money, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you remember, like, we were all scrambling, like, for secondary subscriptions on trial. Like, I have Uverse here, because that's what I have and have choose to contract, as opposed to Comcast. But it wasn't on Comcast and it wasn't on Uverse. It got on Uverse first, but still, that first game after we joined the ACC network that was on ACC network, like, I had to get a YouTube TV subscription for a week just on a trial to try, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm squarely in the footprint, and it was just like ongoing battles like that, and like, yeah, like, if you're talking about all of the ancillary content that's there, I mean, like, there's so much on the SEC network that's really, really, really top quality, whereas ACC network does still look like a really good, but still like a student production in so many ways. And like, you could have said, look, Clemson and Florida State football were better than Miami. Those were the draws when when the network started. So every game possible goes there. Duke basketball, Carolina basketball, half of their seasons are exclusively there. You know what I mean? Like, you could have easily done stuff like that to drive that. I mean, there could have been even more documentaries. And I mean, like, I know that, like, Miami's the brand like that. So we had the U and the U Part 2 on ESPN in the original 30 for 30 series and everything. So I'm not even saying that you need another one, but like, there's so much history in this conference that you could have leaned in that same way, right? But in the same way that the SEC network did, and they did not. And the SEC network, honestly, you could, and there's a thing that you probably could do with the ACC network as well. Randomly, because I worked in a school and I was very close with the dance director at that school. Did you know that Louisville and LSU are two of the best dance teams in America? Like, LSU contemporary and hip hop team for years. I watched a documentary years ago. It was on like the Varsity Cheerleading Network or whatever, and the episodes would come out every Wednesday. So, and I didn't have it was every Tuesday, and I didn't have Varsity Singers rehearsal at Miramar on Tuesdays. So I would go up to the front desk with my friend Tiffany, and we would watch it. And this one year, they had a move at LSU called The Winner. and it's not actually a technical skill. It's a thing that's kind of a hybrid of 4 different skills, but they're like, this is in the national championship routine. And so they had their skill board and everything, and the last skill on the right was the winner. And if you could not hit this skill, you would not be on the championship routine, because like even before the season at preseason camp in July, we're focused on the national championship. And like that's the kind of excellence that they exude. Why do you not have a season following the LSU dance team? Why do you not have a season following the Louisville dance team or something like that, which is incredible? The Miami Sensations, hello, well renowned here as a top dance team, and routinely have people who leave that dance team and go to the Miami Heat dance team, which is damn near, like, for the last 15 years, almost every year, the best dance team in the NBA, right? So I'm just saying there's even that kind of content, which is not a football, baseball, basketball content base, that you could lean into, and really, if you pushed it, people will watch it. You know, I watched every single episode of that cheerleading show, Last Chance U cheerleading. They called it Cheer. Greg Whiteley, same dude who did Last Chance. I watched every episode of those 2 seasons. That was incredible. You're telling me that you couldn't have that and other things that are not necessarily just a recap of the 1987 national championship Miami Hurricane team? There's such a breadth you could do. But even short of those things, the SEC Network leans in to the regionality of things, to their local legends and whatnot, and there's just so much a richer base of content that, like, the ACC just doesn't care. What was his name? Swafford, who was the commissioner? Yeah, I think that he sold out the conference because he knew that that was going to be one of the last things he did, and said, I want the achievement of getting the channel opposed to like the quality of content or the widespread nature of subscribers or anything, because at the end of the day, I'm going to retire in 2 years. So I will be remembered for having secured the channel at all, regardless of the lack of quality. And I think that all of the teams and schools and everything, in a real fiscal way, up to $864 million, like Mark detailed a couple minutes ago, are all holding the bag for that man's hubris, because he wanted what he got and did not give a nary damn about the quality or the financial component of it. It's just so long as, after being asked about it at ACC kickoff for multiple years, and had that Cheshire cat, who ate the canary grin. Hey, what's up with the ACC Network? Is that coming? I have no comment at this time. The next year, hey, Swaff, is the ACC Network? I don't know either, guys. I don't know. It's funny Allen Iverson, the practice rant. It's funny to me too, guys. I don't know. We'll see. Ha 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 ha. And then the third year, okay, cool. You caught me. I've been working on it for the last 5 years, guys. Yeah, we're going to debut the ACC Network, blah, 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 blah. I'm 74 years old. I look like, Mac Brown's grandpa, great. Pat me on the back on the way out. Don't ask me anything else about that other than we're going to have that channel, because I don't care about anything with that. Not the quality or the finances, only the fact that it exists, even if it's terrible. Great. You're welcome. That's your Christmas present. Okay, bye.